The day of my brother's wedding was supposed to be a celebration of love and new beginnings. But little did I know, it would become the darkest day of my life. As I smiled and congratulated the couple, my eyes caught something I never expected: my husband, the man I trusted with my heart, sharing a secret moment with my sister-in-law. Shock, betrayal, and disbelief crashed over me like a tidal wave. In that instant, my world shattered, and I was forced to face a painful truth I never imagined. How could the people I loved the most deceive me like this? This was just the beginning of a storm I was about to endure. After the shocking discovery at the wedding, my mind was swirling with questions and emotions. I couldn't believe what I had seen. Was it really true? My heart ached as I struggled to process the betrayal. I kept replaying the moment in my head, trying to find a reason, an explanation, anything that could make sense of the pain. Meanwhile, the wedding celebrations continued around me, oblivious to the storm raging inside. I knew one thing for sure: nothing would ever be the same again. As the wedding festivities went on, I felt trapped in a whirlwind of emotions: anger, sadness, and confusion battling inside me. I wondered how my husband could betray me like this, and why my own sister-in-law would do such a thing. My trust was shattered, and my heart heavy with pain. But amidst all this turmoil, I realized I had to stay strong, not just for myself, but for my family too. The road ahead would be difficult, but I was determined to face whatever came next. Days passed, but the pain of that day lingered like a shadow over my life. I tried to pretend everything was normal, but inside, I was falling apart. I confronted my husband, demanding answers, but his silence cut deeper than any words. My sister-in-law avoided my gaze, leaving me with more questions than answers. Trust was broken, and the family I once believed in now felt like strangers. Yet, somewhere deep inside, a small spark of hope remained. I had to find a way to heal and move forward. With every passing day, the weight of betrayal grew heavier on my shoulders. I struggled to keep my emotions in check, but the pain was undeniable. Family gatherings became unbearable, filled with awkward glances and silent accusations. Yet, despite the hurt, I refused to let this betrayal define me. I vowed to find my own strength, to rise above the pain, and reclaim my life on my own terms. Amidst the silence and distance, I began to understand that forgiveness wouldn't come easily. My heart was torn between anger and the hope for healing. I realized that to move forward, I had to confront not just my husband and sister-in-law, but also the pain within myself. This journey was about more than betrayal. It was about finding peace, strength, and reclaiming my own happiness. Days turned into weeks, and the wounds of betrayal began to reveal their true depth. I watched as my brother, caught in the middle of this storm, struggled to keep our family together. His silence spoke volumes, and I wondered what he truly thought of all that had happened. In the midst of pain and confusion, I realized that the strength of family would be tested like never before. The tension within the family grew thicker with each passing day. My brother's wedding, once a symbol of joy, had turned into a fragile facade hiding deep wounds. I struggled to find where I belonged in this fractured family, torn between loyalty and betrayal. Yet, even in the darkest moments, a flicker of hope kept me holding on, believing that healing was still possible. As the days passed, I realized that silence was no longer an option. I gathered the courage to speak my truth, to confront the people I once trusted the most. It was painful, raw, and filled with tears, but it was necessary. Only by facing the truth could we hope to find a way forward towards healing, understanding, and perhaps, forgiveness. The confrontation was intense. Words were exchanged, emotions ran high, and the truth lay bare between us. It was a moment of reckoning for everyone involved. Amid the hurt and anger, I found a glimpse of clarity. Sometimes, the hardest truths are the first step toward healing, and I knew the journey ahead would demand strength like never before. After the confrontation, the silence that followed was deafening. Everyone was left to reflect on their actions and choices. I felt the heavy burden of betrayal, but also the stirring of something new, an inner strength growing quietly within me. Healing was no longer a distant dream, it was a path I was determined to walk, step by step. With time, the raw pain began to soften, replaced by a cautious hope. I started to rebuild myself, piece by piece, learning to trust my own heart again. The journey wasn't easy, there were setbacks and moments of doubt, but I knew that healing was possible. And through it all, I discovered my own strength. As days turned into weeks, I found myself growing stronger. The betrayal still lingered, but it no longer controlled me. With every step forward, I reclaimed my confidence and rebuilt the pieces of my shattered world. I learned that true strength comes not from avoiding pain, but from facing it head-on and choosing to rise. Life began to take on new meaning as I embraced the journey of healing. I let go of bitterness and anger, choosing instead to focus on growth and self-love. Though scars remained, they became reminders of my resilience. With each new day, I moved closer to the peace I had been searching for. With every sunrise, I found the strength to forgive not just others, but myself too. The road to healing wasn't straight, but with each step, I grew braver and more determined. I realized that letting go of the past was the key to unlocking a future filled with hope and happiness. As time passed, I embraced the power of forgiveness and self-love. I understood that moving on didn't mean forgetting, but choosing to live beyond the pain. With newfound clarity, I began to rebuild my life, stronger and wiser than before. Slowly, the pieces of my life started to come together. The wounds healed, but the lessons stayed with me. I found peace in knowing that even after betrayal, there is hope. And with that hope, I stepped into a future shaped by strength, courage, and new beginnings. Every ending brings a new beginning, and I was ready to embrace mine. The pain of betrayal had taught me resilience, and the journey of healing had made me stronger. Now, with hope in my heart, I faced the future, ready to write the next chapter of my life with courage and love. The scars of the past remained, but they no longer defined me. With every step forward, I embraced a future filled with hope and possibility. The journey had been painful, yet it shaped me into someone stronger, ready to love, to trust, and to live fully again. As I closed one chapter of my life, I opened another with courage and determination. The betrayal that once broke me had become the fuel to rebuild my happiness. With strength in my heart and hope in my soul, I stepped forward ready to embrace a future filled with love and new beginnings. With every new day, I found myself growing stronger and more confident. The pain of betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I chose to focus on healing, on rebuilding trust within myself, and on creating a life filled with love and happiness. Slowly but surely, I began to heal the wounds left by betrayal. Each moment of pain taught me resilience, and each step forward renewed my hope. I realized that true strength lies in forgiveness and in choosing to move forward, no matter how hard the journey. With time, I learned to let go of the hurt and embrace forgiveness. The road wasn't easy, but with every challenge, I grew stronger. My journey became a testament to the power of resilience, hope, and the courage to start anew. As I walked the path of healing, I discovered the strength within me to forgive and move on. The pain of betrayal no longer held me captive. With every step, I embraced hope, courage, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Every day was a new opportunity to rebuild what was broken. Though scars remained, they were reminders of my resilience and strength. I chose to focus on healing, on love, and on creating a future filled with hope and happiness. With patience and determination, I began to piece my life back together. The pain of betrayal slowly gave way to forgiveness and understanding. I learned that healing is not a destination, but a journey, one I was ready to embrace with an open heart. Each day brought new challenges, but also new strengths. I learned to rise above the pain and hold on to hope. My journey was no longer defined by betrayal, but by courage, resilience, and the promise of a brighter future. The shadows of the past began to fade as I embraced forgiveness and self-love. Though the scars remained, they reminded me of the battles I had overcome. With renewed strength, I stepped forward ready to create a life filled with peace and happiness. With every step I took, I shed the weight of betrayal and embraced the freedom of healing. The path was long and sometimes lonely, but it led me to rediscover my strength and the courage to love again. As time went on, I found peace in knowing that my past did not define me. I chose to focus on the future, on healing, and on building a life filled with love and trust. The journey was hard, but it made me stronger than ever before. Step by step, I rebuilt the foundation of my life. The pain of betrayal had left scars, but it also taught me resilience. With hope in my heart, I moved forward ready to embrace the happiness that awaited me. Though the journey was filled with challenges, I discovered a strength within myself I never knew existed. Each day brought me closer to healing, and every step forward was a victory over the past. Through the darkest times, I held on to hope. The wounds of betrayal slowly began to heal, and I learned that forgiveness was not just for others, but for my own peace. With each new day, I grew stronger and more resilient. The past no longer haunted me, instead, it became a lesson in strength and survival. I embraced the future with an open heart, ready to welcome happiness and love back into my life. With every sunrise, I felt more alive and hopeful. The pain of the past had transformed into wisdom, and I was ready to write a new story, one filled with joy, love, and endless possibilities. As I embraced each new day, I learned to cherish my own strength. The journey from heartbreak to healing was long, but it led me to a place of peace and self-discovery where I could finally breathe freely again. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I faced it with newfound courage. Every step I took was a testament to my resilience, a journey from pain to hope, from betrayal to self-love. Though the past held its shadows, I chose to walk toward the light. With strength and grace, I embraced healing, ready to build a future where love and happiness could flourish once again. Every scar told a story of survival and strength. I carried those lessons with me as I stepped into a new chapter, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. With each passing day, I grew stronger and more determined to reclaim my happiness. The pain of the past remained, but it no longer held me captive. I was ready to embrace the future with open arms and a hopeful heart. Hope blossomed in the wake of heartbreak. I discovered that true strength comes from rising after every fall. With courage as my guide, I stepped forward into a future filled with endless possibilities. Though the wounds of betrayal still lingered, I chose to focus on healing and growth. Every step I took was a testament to my resilience and my belief that brighter days were ahead. With every challenge I faced, I grew stronger and more determined. The pain of the past no longer held me back. I was ready to embrace the future with an open heart and renewed hope. The journey of healing wasn't easy, but each day brought new strength and clarity. I learned to forgive, to let go, and to welcome the possibilities that lay ahead with hope and courage. With each new dawn, I felt my heart grow lighter. The pain of betrayal still echoed, but it no longer controlled me. I was learning to live again, embracing hope, love, and the promise of a fresh start. Slowly, I began to find peace amidst the chaos. The scars remained, but they were no longer wounds, they were reminders of my resilience and strength. I was ready to move forward, stronger than ever. With every step forward, I left behind the shadows of betrayal. The journey was tough, but it led me to a place of healing, hope, and new beginnings. I was ready to embrace the life I deserved. Though the past held pain, I chose to focus on the future. With courage in my heart and hope as my guide, I began to rebuild a life filled with love, trust, and happiness. Each day brought new opportunities to heal and grow. The scars of betrayal remained, but they no longer defined me. I was learning to love again, starting with myself. With every sunrise, I embraced the chance to start anew. The pain of the past had shaped me, but it no longer controlled me. I was ready to write a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. Hope began to shine brighter each day. I discovered strength I never knew I had, and with every step forward, I moved closer to the happiness I deserved. The journey of healing was far from over, but I was ready to face it with courage. Though the past still echoed, I chose to focus on the present and the future. With every challenge, I grew stronger and more resilient. Healing was no longer a dream, it was becoming my reality. The pain of betrayal had tested me in ways I never imagined. Yet, through every struggle, I found a deeper strength within myself. I was no longer a victim, I was a survivor, ready to embrace the future with hope and courage. With every step forward, I reclaimed my power and my peace. The journey wasn't easy, but it showed me the true meaning of resilience. Now, I faced the future with an open heart and unshakable strength. As the days passed, I grew more certain that healing was possible. The wounds of betrayal still ached, but they no longer controlled me. With courage and hope, I moved forward, ready to embrace the life I deserved. With every sunrise, I found new reasons to keep going. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer defined me. I was learning to trust again, to love again, and to believe in a brighter future. The journey wasn't easy, but with each step, I grew stronger. I learned that healing takes time, patience, and courage. And with every new day, I chose hope over pain and love over fear. Though the path was long and winding, I never gave up. Each challenge became a lesson, and every moment of pain made me stronger. I was ready to face whatever the future held, with courage, hope, and an open heart. With each step I took, the shadows of the past grew dimmer. I learned to embrace the light within myself, finding strength in my journey of healing. The future was no longer something to fear, it was a promise of new beginnings. As I moved forward, I realized that healing is not a destination but a journey. Each day brought new challenges, but also new strength. With hope as my guide, I embraced the future, ready to write a new chapter of my life. With every dawn, I found a little more peace. The pain of the past remained, but it no longer controlled me. I was learning to live again, embracing hope, strength, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The scars of betrayal were still visible, but they no longer defined who I was. Each day, I grew stronger, wiser, and more determined to build a future filled with love and peace. Though the road was tough, I never lost sight of hope. The pain taught me resilience, and every step forward brought me closer to the happiness I deserved. With courage in my heart, I faced each new day. The wounds of the past healed slowly, but with patience and love, I was learning to trust again and open my heart to new possibilities. Every day brought a new chance to heal and grow. Though the past was painful, I chose to focus on the future with hope, strength, and an open heart ready to love again. As time passed, I learned that healing is a journey without a fixed destination. With each step, I grew stronger, wiser, and more ready to embrace the happiness that awaited me. Though the scars of the past remained, I chose to focus on the strength I had gained. Every challenge I faced made me more resilient, and every step forward was a victory on my journey to healing. With every new dawn, I found a renewed sense of hope. The pain of betrayal was a chapter in my story, but it no longer defined who I was. I was ready to embrace a future filled with love and peace. Each step forward was a testament to my resilience. The past had shaped me, but it did not control me. I was ready to embrace the future with an open heart and a spirit full of hope. With strength in my heart, I moved beyond the shadows of betrayal. Every day was a new opportunity to build a life filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. Though the path was challenging, I faced it with courage and hope. The scars remained, but they reminded me of my strength and the journey I had taken toward healing and happiness. With every sunrise, I grew stronger and more determined. The past was a lesson, not a prison. I was ready to embrace the future with open arms and a hopeful heart. With every challenge I faced, I discovered a deeper strength within. The past no longer held me captive, I was free to create a future filled with hope and love. Each day brought new opportunities to heal and grow. The scars of the past reminded me of my strength, and I was ready to embrace the future with an open heart and a hopeful spirit. With every step I took, I left behind the pain of betrayal and embraced the promise of healing. The journey was long, but I was stronger, wiser, and ready for a brighter tomorrow. The road to healing wasn't easy, but every step brought me closer to peace. I learned to forgive, to let go, and to welcome love back into my life with an open heart. Each day, I grew stronger and more resilient. The past no longer defined me. With hope guiding my way, I stepped forward to build a future filled with love and happiness. Though the scars of the past remained, I no longer let them hold me back. I embraced my strength and courage, ready to write a new chapter filled with hope and joy. With every step forward, I shed the weight of pain and betrayal. I embraced healing, resilience, and the promise of a brighter, happier future. Each new day brought fresh hope. The past had tested me, but it no longer defined me. I was ready to embrace a future filled with love, peace, and endless possibilities. The journey wasn't easy, but with every step, I found strength and resilience. The wounds of betrayal healed slowly, making way for hope and new beginnings. With courage and hope, I faced each new day. The scars of the past were reminders of my strength, and I was ready to build a future filled with love and happiness. Though the road was long and filled with challenges, I never lost faith. Each step forward was a victory, proof that healing and happiness were within my reach. With every challenge, I grew stronger and more resilient. The pain of the past no longer controlled me. I was ready to embrace a future filled with hope and endless possibilities. The journey to healing was slow but steady. With patience and courage, I moved beyond the pain, embracing the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Each day brought new strength and clarity. The shadows of betrayal faded as I stepped confidently toward a future filled with hope and love. With every sunrise, I found the courage to let go of the past. Healing wasn't easy, but it was worth every step toward a life filled with peace and happiness. Though the journey was long, I never lost hope. Every step forward was a reminder of my strength and the bright future waiting just beyond the horizon. With resilience in my heart, I faced each new day. The pain of the past was a chapter in my story, but it no longer defined who I was. I was ready to embrace love, hope, and new beginnings. Every sunrise brought new strength and hope. Though the scars of betrayal remained, they no longer held me captive. I was learning to live freely again, with an open heart and renewed faith. The road to healing was filled with challenges, but each step made me stronger. I embraced hope, resilience, and the promise of a brighter future ahead. With each new day, I discovered more strength within myself. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer controlled my life. I was ready to embrace happiness and peace. Though the scars remained, I chose to focus on healing and growth. Each step forward was a victory, bringing me closer to a life filled with hope and love. With every challenge I faced, I found new strength. The past was a lesson, not a burden, and I was ready to create a future filled with happiness and peace. The journey to healing was ongoing, but with patience and courage, I moved forward. Each new day was a chance to embrace hope and build a brighter tomorrow. With every step, I grew stronger and more resilient. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer defined me. I was ready to embrace the future with hope and courage. Though the journey was long, I never lost sight of hope. Each day brought new strength, and I was ready to build a future filled with love, peace, and happiness. With courage in my heart, I moved forward, leaving behind the shadows of betrayal. Each new day was a step closer to healing, happiness, and a life rebuilt on hope. This journey tested me in every way, but it also revealed my strength. I chose to rise above the pain, embracing a future filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities.